Hello everyone, and welcome to Galaxy 89 Cars. Due to the continuation of the lockdown, I'm still having to come up with novel content ideas. So today I'm taking you on an in-depth comparison between two Ferrari legends, F40 and F50. This video uses clips from my in-depth tours of these cars that were originally filmed by me at Superfutura and Joe Macari. In just a few years, Ferrari were able to significantly enhance their design and manufacturing processes, and we will explore this throughout the video. F40, first presented in 1987, is a special edition model built to celebrate Ferrari's 40th anniversary. It was the first production car to use mainly carbon fibre panels, which results in a very low dry weight of just 1100 kilograms. F50, despite being a little early, is also a celebration model and was built to celebrate Ferrari's 50th anniversary. It came in 1995 and also has a carbon fibre construction but comes in slightly heavier at 1230 kilograms. We can now move to powertrains and start with F40. F40 is powered by a rear mid-mounted 2.9-litre twin-turbo V8 that produces 478 horsepower and 577 Nm of torque. This output can achieve a 0 to 60 mph or 100 km/h time of 4.1 seconds and a top speed of 201 mph, becoming the first production car to surpass 200 mph. F50 is powered by a version of the engine found in the 1989 Ferrari F1 car, a 4.7-litre naturally aspirated V12 that produces 520 brake horsepower and 471 Nm of torque. This rear mid-mounted V12 creates a 0 to 62 mph or 100 km/h time of 3.87 seconds and a top speed of 201 mph. Now moving down to the wheels, F40 sits on front and rear 5-spoke 17-inch chrome wheels. In comparison, F50 sits on larger front and rear convex star pattern 18-inch alloy wheels, which are far more dished at the rear. Wheels in both cars are secured with center-locking wheel nuts. Now we've finished the output and wheel comparison, we can move to the exterior comparison where we find fundamental differences in design language. In F50, the lower lip has been extended and the main vent above holds generally the same form, but the lateral vents are lower and reformed as ovals. Moving back, F40's forward lights are behind an angular cover and its main beams are deployable and are found behind. This deployable characteristic is lost in F50 with new lights below and main beams behind a much more circular cover. Moving centrally, the characteristic sloping bonnet in F40 is broken up by two central air intake ducts. Being inspired by F1, F50's bonnet holds a familiar central form with large air release vents on either side for the front radiators. Continuing back, F40's windscreen continues the angular aesthetic, and F50's complements its curvaceous design. Rolling over the front arch, and we come to the large vents on F40, whereas F50 has lost this entirely and has a flush lateral aspect. Moving back to F40, and we find dual-level air intakes for the brakes and engine, and an extended side skirt below. In F50, the side skirt is flush with the bottom of the door, and the whole lower section of the side now helps direct air into the enlarged lower intake, now the only side intake. However, inside it we find a secondary channel, possibly for brake cooling. Moving up, we come to the wing mirrors. Following form, these are quite angular and upright in F40 and rise up on short stalks. In F50, they are much softer and flow backwards on elongated stalks. One of the biggest differences between these cars is that the roof can be removed in F50. Continuing back, we come to another major difference, the amount of fuel tanks. F40 comes with a fuel tank on the right and left side. But F50 only comes with one fuel tank, accessed on the left. These tanks also come with different filler caps. Moving centrally, and there are also distinct differences between the engine covers. F40's is raised and comes with 12 vents, whereas F50's is flat and comes with 18 vents, but as seen earlier, both of these covers are fixed and lift up with the rear clamshells. This could suggest that F50 has a lower centre of gravity than F40. Continuing back, we find further air intakes on either side of the cover in F40, presumably for engine cooling. Behind this, we find one of the most prominent features, the rear wings. In F40, the wing rises straight up on two struts built into the clamshell. F50's has another equally iconic form that goes gradually on either side. F50 can reportedly make up to 440 kilograms of downforce, presumably much more than F40, although I couldn't verify this. Despite these differences, and the removal of the screw holes in F50, the top plane is a separate component in both cars. The final difference before we can move to the rear are these air vents in F40 that also help with engine cooling. Now at the very rear, we can see how, despite being softened, F50 still presents quite an angular design language in contrast to the rest of the car. Looking at the individual elements, the grille is quite angular in F40 and the lights protrude out quite far. The grille in F50 has been rounded at the sides and the lights have been integrated and surrounded by a new seal. Moving down, F40's exhaust ends with 3 central exhaust exits in a central dip in the diffuser. This dipped shape, which is probably for the differential, remains in F50, but the exhaust ends on either side with dual outlets. Now we've finished the exterior comparison, we can move inside. F40's main key comes with a black rubber end, but it also comes with other keys to unlock the clamshells. F50's main key is slightly more refined, but generally holds the same form. It comes with less secondary keys as the clamshells are opened differently, as seen earlier. F40 and F50 both have standard door mechanisms and can be opened by lifting a small rectangular catch. The biggest interior differences between F40 and 50 is how the interior has been refined in the latter car and its sealed off rear and removable roof. Let's focus on all the individual details. F40 comes with a basic carbon fibre door card with an indented central section that can be used to grip, manual window winder and string control to open the door. F50 comes with a far more sculpted door panel with a leather upholstered handle, lever door release but still a manual wiper. Moving to the sills, an F40 has a very prominent raised carbon sill. In F50, this is wider and partially concealed by the raised side panel. However, F40's sill is probably still just wider. Now moving into the car, and we find front demist, beam and hazard light controls to the left of the steering wheel in F40. As we move into F50, we first come to the lever to release the front clamshell, which isn't in F40 as it has catches on either side of its clamshell. Above this we find beam, front demist and a front nose lift. If we move right in both cars, we come to the steering wheels. F40's wheel has a very thin, leather surround with a simple metal 3-spoke interior. Moving to F50, and we find generally the same form, but with more leather on the bottom and around the grips. However, both cars have the horn centrally. Looking up, and we arrive at the instrument cluster. From left to right, engine temperature, speedo with mileage and warning LEDs, oil and temperature indicators, rev gauge and turbo boost. F50's dial set incorporates some digital displays, but starts with fuel, then oil pressure and oil and engine temperature below. The rev gauge is to its right with a gear changer display, then the speedo, and finally a small digital trip that offers info for gear selection, mileage and screen brightness. Moving right from the wheels and we come to the dash. In F40 we find gauges for oil temperature, oil pressure and fuel level, with fan speed and air temp rotaries below. This area gets changed out for gloss carbon in F50 with the key insert and start button to the left and 3 air vents. These are under the dash in F40. Moving down and back we find a raised central column and the long gear stick from the F40's 5-speed manual. In F50 the central column is exposed carbon with a much shorter shifter from its 6-speed manual. Continuing back in F50 and we find the airspeed and temperature controls and manual handbrake and hazard lights, which have been moved down from where they are in F40. This area is much more basic in F40 as it only consists of a few storage areas and the manual handbrake. Moving to the seats, and we see that F40 has well padded racing style buckets with save out harnesses, whereas F50 comes with leather and Alcantara upholstered carbon buckets with embroidered headrests, larger lateral supports and standard seatbelts here. Now moving to the final 2 features. F40 comes with simple, thin sun visors with a vanity mirror on the left side and a simple rectangular rearview mirror centrally. F50 has much longer, leather upholstered sun visors, where the passenger side also has a vanity mirror, and the rear view mirror comes with a much more curvaceous aesthetic. So that concludes my in-depth comparison between the Ferrari F40 and F50, filmed by me at Superventura and Joe Macari respectively. For any inquiries, please find their contact details in the description of the video. Please subscribe for the latest content, and until next time, thanks for watching.